What's up? What's up? What's up? It is the FF Mediators here on the Face Off Sports Network. We have a great show. We're going to talk about Dynasty and redraft underdogs. We're going to talk about the guys that are on teams that no one really cares about, the teams that project to be a little bit worse in the standings. So there's some value here. I know Coach has been really diving in and harping on some of these guys, especially in the group chat in the last couple days. Tyler, Coach, how we doing, guys?
What's up, man?
Doing good, doing good. Ready to dive into some of these underdogs here, see what we can come up with.
Yeah. So if you're here with us, be sure to like the stream, and you can also throw your questions in the chat, and we are happy to come and answer those. Whether it's trade questions, start sit questions. We're not there yet, but we're going to be. I wish we had some preseason action. We got that tomorrow. We've got drafts coming up, so it is time for fantasy football to get kicked off. But let's just go ahead and get started, guys. And let's start with our first team. And it's going to be the Carolina Panthers. Coming off of a rough season, Bryce Young gets benched. Didn't have the necessary best start that you would want. Progressed a little bit after the benching, came back and looked pretty strong to close out the season. I know Coach was really happy to see him put up some decent stats toward the end of the year, put up a 24-point game, put up a 27-point game. So my big first question to you, Coach, since you are in the Panthers country, do you think that Bryce Young will have any fantasy value in redraft leagues if we're just starting 12, or is he a guy we could possibly look at streaming?
Man, I really do. I really think at minimum you stream Bryce Young, but the hype has been, the talk has been really good on Bryce Young through camp. He looked solid in his preseason, his first game in his preseason. I know he had very limited time there, but Canales seems really confident in Bryce Young going into his second year working with him. I see his ADP is like 25. Like, he's going to outperform that, I think. Like, I'm not saying he's a top 10 quarterback, but I sure wouldn't mind having him as my second quarterback in Superflex League for sure.
Yeah. Tyler, what's your thoughts on Bryce Young this upcoming season?
Yeah, I kind of agree with Coach there. I mean, we get to these points where, your second quarterback, you obviously want as many elite ones as you can get, but your second quarterback, they kind of fall into tiers later on. And I really think Bryce is probably in a tier above where he's being drafted right now. There's a lot of streamers there that you could probably take a shot on and just kind of play the matchups. I mean, this is a weak division. It's not something that I'm super scared of. So if it's a week, where the Panthers are going to play the Saints or something like that, I would take a shot on it. It really depends on the matchups that you get. But if you tell me that Bryce Young improves again this year and another year of the Canales offense, it wouldn't shock me at all.
Something that's interesting about Bryce Young is at the end of the season, his fantasy draft hype got higher and higher. People talked about Bryce Young and everybody was really feeling it. And now all of a sudden he's plummeted again. So there's a lot of value there again for Bryce Young. When 3 or 4 months ago, I would have thought it would have been a little harder to get him. Now you can just pretty much get him if you want him.
Yeah. I mean, you're right there with the dip, Coach. I mean, he's someone where after we saw the benching, his value went. I just pulled up Keep Trade Cut just because I was curious. That's one where I know we can look at a year. He went from being right around a first to just plummeted. In September of 24, he was going for a second, sometimes a third. And then, now he's up over his value at the start of last season. So, the value is there. The quarterbacks have the opportunity. Canales kind of rebuilt that offense, has stabilized it a little bit. And I think a lot of it has to do with what this offense can do in the run game. And I think let's transition to there because I know, Coach, you're a big Chuba Hubbard believer. I'm a Chuba Hubbard believer. Tyler, I believe you are as well. He's coming off a new contract, a fantastic 2024 season where he finishes the RB15 on the year. They bring in Rico Dowdle. We have a question, guys. What are we going to do about this backfield? I know, Coach, you've been talking about it a little bit, so I'll let you go first. But I do think that Chuba's value is so great right now. It's such a great buy for me. I think he's being underdrafted in redraft. I think that in Dynasty, he's being sold too cheap. He is someone that I want on my team. If I'm an RB needy team, go and get him.
Yeah, man. He's a guy. I have all eyes on Chuba Hubbard. Now, first of all, that offensive line is daggum good, man. Mm-hmm. They can run the football. He showed that down the stretch last year in the second half of the season. His ADP currently is 18. Like, I really feel confident that he's a anywhere between 12 to 15 running back. And he's also a guy that could boom and finish in the top 10 as well behind that offensive line. Like, he's a guy you need to keep your eye on. You can steal him. He feels like a guy that could be a league winner.
Yeah, Tyler?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's your perfect running back too for your roster. And I mean, if he continues the trend from last year, I mean, he could even, like Coach said, work his way into an RB1. The one thing that obviously the reason why we're talking about him as an underdog is we don't anticipate the Panthers being the best team, overall so scoring opportunities may dip a little bit. But if you're explosive enough, if you get all the goal line touches that we project him to have, you're probably going to get most of those touchdowns anyway. So I think he's at a really good value spot in the draft. I think obviously if you start your draft and you go, like wide receiver, running back, wide receiver in the first 3 rounds, and you wait a few rounds and you get Chuba later, like I can't fault you for that at all.
Yeah, we see Pete. Go ahead, Coach.
Yeah, I was going to address this very thing.
Yeah.
Pete's 77% snap share. Now, there's a world where he doesn't get a 77% snap share again, right? That it dips a little bit. There is that world. I get it. But now this offense is flat out going to be better. In my opinion, it's going to, without a doubt, be better than it was last year. So there's going to be more opportunities for touchdowns coming Chuba's way to make up for any dip in snap share that Rico Dowdle may take at all.
Yeah, well, you mentioned Rico, so let's start talking about that a little bit. Someone that the 3 of us are very familiar with. Coming over from Dallas last year, where he finished as the RB22, had 235 attempts with over 1,000 yards. He had almost 1,100, only 2 touchdowns on the year. Guys, I have to pose the question, will he shark any carries from Chuba? Coach, you're saying no, you don't expect that too much. And I think a lot of that has to do with the contract that Chuba signed. It's a big-time deal. There's a lot of money there. What's the deal for Rico? I think, Coach, you said earlier it was only $2 million.
Like 2.5.
Yeah, it's not the biggest deal in the world. So I do think that he's going to be on the field. I think it's someone that they can trust. I think he's more likely than not going to be just a handcuff for the season. So if you're in a redraft league that has extra spots and you want to have Chuba's handcuff, okay, I don't really think that's necessary. If we're talking Dynasty, it's probably something that you're just going to throw a cheap throw at. I mean, if you just want to secure the Panthers' backfield, because coaches are wrong. That offensive line is good, and they're well paid too. It's one of the most expensive offensive lines in all of football, if not the most expensive. Coach, if you remember that, I can't remember.
Yeah, I think it's top 3. I do know that. But the thing about Rico is he's going to have an impact just a little bit. Like he's going to be a complimentary guy at best. So you got to take that with a grain of salt. Like if you take Rico on your team, you got to know that you're probably not going to play him unless Chuba Hubbard gets injured.
Yeah. I mean, you're getting like Coach said, it's an injury play. At most, he's getting third down work, right? Like I think he had some good receiving flashes maybe in the preseason game they had last week. I did go back and look. His contract was a 1-year, $6.25 million deal is what he ended up getting, which comparative to Chuba is nothing. So for me, I'm not really worried about it. I think, like I said, third down role might suit him pretty well. But even still, I think when the goal line comes, I think it's going to be Chuba, and I'm pounding Chuba's price all day.
Yeah. Well, we got 2 questions here in the chat, actually 3. So we're going to hit the super chat first. We appreciate Ace of Spade for the super chat. Question is, absolutely, Mike Evans or DJ Moore full PPR this year? Coach, I'm going to kick it to you first. You are a resident Bears fan, so it feels like you should be the guy to answer this question.
Woo! I think DJ Moore. Like I think Mike Evans is going to take a little bit of a step back. I do see some concern with DJ Moore with Rome Odunze taking a little bit more there away from DJ Moore, but DJ is just a better all-around playmaker. Mike Evans is a really good, solid wide receiver. I just think as a whole, DJ Moore's a guy still more in his prime. I feel a little better about DJ Moore.
This is that situation where we're just constantly waiting for the wheels to fall off for Mike Evans. Like, when is it going to happen? We've seen this with the older wide receivers. Devontae Adams is another one. Finished as wide receiver 9 last year. Only played 14 games. So can he do it again? Yeah, he can. I mean, 110 targets, 74 receptions, 11 touchdowns. That's been Mike Evans' key. Every single year he has that top 10, top 5 finish. it's a big touchdown year. So if he can get those, that's going to be great for that Bucs offense. I'm kind of with Coach. I kind of expect a regression. He looks slower. I don't think he's the same player. It's tough because I am a DJ Moore critic, and I don't have a lot of conviction with it, but I'm with Coach. I think I'm going to go with DJ Moore. I think this Bears offense finally comes back to life, and for the first time ever, they'll have a 4,000-yard passer.
Woo! No,
Yeah,
you just jinxed it. You jinxed it. Thanks.
You're welcome. You don't know what that's like. I do, though.
I don't.
I tend to agree with you guys. I mean, Mike Evans, since 2020, he's averaged somewhere in like the 75-ish reception range every year. I think last year he had 74 is what I just looked at. If you look at DJ Moore, I mean, yes, he does have the extra target competition in Odunze and Burden coming in, but you're also talking about he's been the wide receiver one. I mean, the last 2 years on the Bears, he's had 96 receptions and 98 receptions. So at this point, like, Evans is probably the more explosive play, whereas I think DJ Moore is probably more of the target-heavy play. So full PPR, I would take DJ Moore. I think he's just a safer play there.
Yeah, I mean, they're both players that can produce, but they're in different ways. Like DJ Moore has never been a touchdown guy. Most he's ever had is 8, and that was 3 years ago, or 2 years ago, excuse me. But Mike Evans is the opposite. We always see him score touchdowns. Coach, I'm curious if you still have the ADP pulled up. Can you figure out what the difference is between these two players? Which one of them's cheaper? Because that would probably factor into my analysis too. Of if I can get Mike Evans maybe around cheaper, I would like that. Pete says here the average depth of target for Evans has gone down each of the last few years, which is concerning. He prefers Evans. I get it. Tyler, you mentioned the target competition between DJ Moore and Rome Odunze. It's certainly something, but we also have to consider that the target competition in Tampa Bay is still there. I mean, Ibuka's coming into town. He's looked good in camp. We still have Mike Evans. Chris Godwin should be back at some point in time. McMillan's going to be there. K. Otton's going to be there, not to mention the hero himself, Bucky Irving, is going to continue to get some carries and get some opportunities. I have to throw that plug in there. But, Coach, did you figure out anything on the ADP?
Yeah, Mike Evans is going at wide receiver 16. DJ Moore's going wide receiver 20. A little more value with DJ Moore.
Yeah, I like that.
It's about 10 spots in difference too. Mike Evans is 38.5 on ADP and sleeper, and then DJ Moore is 48.2. So right at 10 slots.
There has been. I see Steve mentions it here, and he sent us a comment here about DJ Moore. This has been happening in camp a lot. DJ Moore's been in the backfield quite a bit.
Wow.
Not just for trick plays. Like they've had all kinds of gadget plays with him getting football out of the backfield. Like I do think Ben Johnson plans on using him in a variety of ways. Yeah,
I think so. But I appreciate the super chat, Ace Spade. We all do here, so thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Let's get back to the Panthers guys for just a little bit, and let's jump back to William's question here. It says, bigger sleeper, Chuba Hubbard or Isaiah Pacheco? My opinion, I'm going to go Chuba. I think that the Kansas City backfield is going to continue to be murky. I think everyone's going to have their opportunities and their chances. I do think Pacheco bounced back. I think a lot of last year just had to do with his health. He came back, didn't look the same. They kind of forced it, and it never really worked out. But I think he'll be better this year. Coach, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, Pacheco's going at 26. Running back 26, so there's definitely some value there if you feel like his bounce back is great enough. Like I don't blame you for that. He definitely looked a lot better 2 years ago, so I get it, or 3 years ago, I guess. So I would still take Chuba personally over Pacheco just because it feels a little safer.
Tyler?
Yeah, I agree. I think people do sleep on Pacheco, and obviously he's part of a great offense with the Chiefs there. But honestly, I mean, people don't seem to talk about Chuba at all. At least I feel like I've heard Pacheco's name mentioned, and I feel like people skip over Chuba all the time just because he's on the Panthers, and they're like, none of the Panthers can produce for fantasy. So,
yeah. And we see here Cody chimes in, sleeper ADP. Pacheco's a little bit cheaper, so thank you for that, Cody. We appreciate you throwing out those ADPs for us. But let's move on to the Panthers wide receiver room, guys. And, Pete had a question in here too. Does Tet and Bryce Young having the connection in the preseason game provide more confidence? I mean, I think it looks good. I mean, it's better. what I liked more than anything was really the slant that was thrown in the end zone that they missed on, because it looked like Bryce had that timing just straight down and Tet just wasn't ready. So that was nice to see Bryce just kind of sling it in there, just try and put it in the pocket. Coach is laughing at me. What is it?
Did you notice that, Tyler? He took a shot at Tet. See that? Of course he did.
Yep.
It wasn't a shot. It was the truth. He wasn't ready. He wasn't. But at the same time,
he wasn't. And he even acknowledged it. That was the thing. You said it perfectly. Like Bryce was on that as soon as he broke. He that ball was there, and Tet did not expect that at all.
Yep, that was a good ball.
But, I mean, I think we all know what Tet is, so I don't want to spend too much time. He's going to be drafted fairly high. I'm probably not going to draft him as high as he's going, but let's talk about these other wide receivers. Coach, let's talk about your boy Coker. I know you love him in Dynasty. He's an interesting play. Can he get on the field? Does he have any opportunities? I don't think he's going to be anything in redraft, but in Dynasty, it's at least interesting.
Oh, 100%. And I am so frustrated with his current situation. I mean, he's clearly not a starter. Every time he goes out there, he plays like their best wide receiver. I do not understand it. It drives me batty, man. Like he made multiple plays the other night when he came in the game. He's clearly playing behind T-Mac, Thielen, and Leggett. Like Coker is better than Leggett and Thielen. Like find a role for this guy. Like that's driving me crazy. Dynasty, I 100% want him on my roster.
Yeah, and it's a cheap flyer you can go get right now. Tyler, I know you were talking about it earlier off stream. Let's talk about Adam Thielen. What's your thoughts there? Is there any fantasy value in redraft or in Dynasty if you're competing team?
For me, I'm really targeting him. If I'm going to grab him, I would grab him in redraft. The thing with it is if you have him in Dynasty, you're not going to be able to get rid of him. I mean, he's going to at least produce some for you. For me, I think probably I would target him in redraft and target somebody like Coker or even Jimmy Horn, who's made some waves in the preseason and training camp. As far as Dynasty, I know we sit here and we say don't focus on age all the time, but when you're up at Adam Thielen's age and your Dynasty value is already shot, you might as well take an upside swing on one of these younger guys that maybe but they play their way in and they play over him. And so for me, if I'm taking Thielen, it's definitely in redraft this year.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I think the Panthers wide receiver room, there's going to be some value. I think Bryce Young, how high can he take these wide receivers? A little bit capped. I see. I know ATL is what Hoff and Pete call the resident troll. I think that Chris might be the troll for me. For whatever reason, we always have to come back to Travis Hunter. And Chris, we're going to have to get on the stream and do it because Travis Hunter's the man. You're just not ready to admit it. The wide receiver one. But, I mean, I get it. If you like Tet over him, it's fine. Pete's the same way. You guys can be wrong together. It is what it is. Let's do a pizza bet. I do think that the tight end situation in Carolina, I don't know if there's much to talk about it. Jatavian Sanders, coach. I know you kind of like him a little bit. I'm not going to spend any time on it. I'm not sure it's worth the pickup in really anything. If I had him in Dynasty, it's just kind of a hope and a prayer.
Yeah, I mean, somebody has to play tight end, right? I mean, that's kind of where it's at. He's the starting tight end on an NFL football team. Like, there's a little bit of value there. I mean, he was a rookie last year. When I was at training camp last year, he flashed and showed some good, nice athleticism. Panthers aren't allowing fans at training camp this year because they're doing a lot of construction. So that's been a pain. But still, maybe. I'll take a flyer on Sanders, sit him on my bench in Dynasty and see what happens.
Yeah. Well, let's move on. Let's start talking about another team. Let's go same division. Let's talk about the New Orleans Saints. The quarterback room, you got Spencer Rattler. He started the first preseason game. Did he play okay? He was fine. Didn't really do too much. I think he had 11 pass attempts for like 50 yards or something like that out of like 20 on the ground. And then Tyler Shuck, a guy Coach and I have been very interested all offseason. We drafted him a ton. He's one of my most rostered players in Dynasty right now just because I love the opportunity to get a quarterback in the late second. I think I even got him in the third round once or twice. And he has the chance to start. I mean, Coach, I'm going to kick it to you because I know you watched the game. I watched the game. He had a pick six to kick off his first drive, maybe his second drive. Then he bounced back. So what did you see, Coach?
I absolutely love Tyler Shuck's performance. Like, I know all I have seen on X is that he threw a pick six. I get it. But the fact that he bounced back and drove them down the field and threw a touchdown pass. Man, that showed a whole lot to me. I mean, honestly, I think it's 68% completion percentage, 15 for 23, touchdown, a pick. Yeah, the pick six was bad. It was a dumb throw. I get it, but there's a whole lot of moxie there to get the ball right back and drive down score. So, I mean, I like Shuck. I always have. I do think that he's better than Spencer Rattler on a team that I do not think is going to be very good. They drafted Shuck where they did for a reason. They're going to play him when it's all said and done.
Tyler, any thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I think he's better than Spencer Rattler. To me, if Spencer Rattler was anything crazy, he would have beat out Derek Carr last year. And he did play some, but I'm not really worried about him. People are making this big debate of, oh, well, if it's Rattler versus Shuck, like really and truthfully, it's both basically rookie quarterbacks if they come in. So I don't necessarily look for the Saints to be the most high-powered offense, but I would feel a little bit more comfortable with Shuck behind the wheel than I probably would Spencer Rattler.
Yeah, I think the team's going to be bad enough, so it doesn't really matter. Just throw out Shuck, see what you get. We saw Rattler last year. He played in 7 games, and it amounted to nothing worth talking about. Whereas Tyler Shuck, he's an older prospect. A lot of people are going to hold that against him. But he had like 4 different injuries that ended his season, all bone breaks, nothing too serious to really be concerned about. But he developed very, very well at Louisville. He had great tape, especially that game against Notre Dame. I feel like I talk about that all the time when we talk about him. But I do think that Tyler Shuck is someone that should be interesting. I don't think redraft he's anything. Dynasty, absolutely someone I'm interested in going to get just because it could turn into something. It's a cheap bet. It's a lottery ticket. Take that chance if you have that extra opportunity. But let's move on because I see in here Zach says they're going to run a lot in New Orleans. And you're probably right. I mean, we know what Alvin Kamara is. I think all 3 of us are going to say draft him. He's great. He does everything really, really well. So I don't really want to spend any time there. Let's jump to the RB2 there. Kendre Miller. Didn't really look that great in the preseason so far. He's kind of been a tale of a lot of what ifs. Dennis Allen kind of hated him and openly would just target him during his tenure. Kendre Miller had lots of injuries, never really panned out for him to get on the field and have any success. I'm not sure there's really anything there other than just a waiver wire ad should something happen to Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not really interested in Kendre. I like Devin Neal a lot, the rookie out of Kansas this past year. He showed a lot of tape last year to me that, I would be more convinced to kind of draft him as this backup here. But if we know one thing, Alvin Kamara is going to eat unless he gets if he gets injured, then that's a whole different story. But we do know one thing that happens whenever rookie quarterbacks come in, they tend to target those reliable guys. So usually it's tight ends or running backs. And so if he is checking down a lot, I see Alvin Kamara's PPR rankings, probably being too low for where he's going to be drafted. So to me, obviously you draft Kamara, we go for that. And sometimes you draft a handcuff here. I wouldn't do it in this situation, but if I had to pick one, I would pick Devin Neal over Kendre.
Yeah, I love Devin Neal. Just want to throw that out there. Go ahead, Coach.
Yeah, I tend to think I don't love Devin Neal personally. I do like him better than Kendre Miller. I'm not a fan of Kendre Miller at all. Kamara, obviously, we all know he's really good. I didn't love Devin Neal out of college, but there's something there. Let me have him in Dynasty and set him on my bench and taxi him up and see what happens. I definitely have a couple shares of him. So I want shares of all these rookie running backs if I can get a hold of it and just see what happens.
Yeah, Coach, you've said it several times. One of these guys is going to hit. We don't know which one, whether it's Giddens or Taj Brooks, whoever we want to talk about. A lot of them are going to flop, but there's going to be 1 or 2 guys that are going to get an opportunity. Devin Neal could absolutely be the guy that kind of takes over for Kamara as he continues to age. It is worth noting that Devin Neal is currently injured, which does give an opportunity for, as someone just said, it was Zach again, Marcus Yarns, the running back from Delaware, kind of gets that chance to make some plays here in camp. Definitely something to monitor. Went undrafted, so odds are kind of stacked against him right now. Having a couple shares, love that. Again, because we don't know which one of these guys is going to hit. So it's another Dynasty ad. If he's on waivers, go check, go get him. If not, and you're interested in him, send a late 4th for, 2026. Who cares? It is what it is. If you believe in the guy, it's worth taking a shot. But it does lead us to our next position, unless anybody has anything else. Coach Tyler?
Nope, I'm good.
All right, let's talk about wide receivers in New Orleans, because we were talking about underdog teams, and these are the teams that are not really going to perform well, and there's still fantasy value on those teams. And Steve points out Tyler Shuckstack with Shaheed and Olave and best ball. Nobody is going to have that. And I think it's a great point because we all agree Olave is going to be the wide receiver one of this, this team. If he can stay healthy, the concussions have been an issue. He should have the opportunity. He's a guy that's kind of underperformed throughout his career so far, but Shaheed is the interesting one, Coach. I know you were a huge Shaheed guy last year. You've been preaching him all sorts of times, and, he had the unfortunate injury, but what's your thoughts there?
I'm still preaching Shaheed. Like, he's clearly the wide receiver 2 here. I mean, everybody knows Olave, and just looking back to the games he played last year, 16, 20, 15, 18, 9. I mean, this guy's a burner, man. He's a tremendous athlete. Someone has to score. Someone has to catch the passes in New Orleans. That just is what it is. Like, a lot of times he's, I agree, Zach. He's more than just a deep guy. He's a good football player. Now, can they get him the ball? That remains to be seen now. But at the same time, I love Shaheed late. There's no reason you shouldn't take him. Like, he is absolutely electric. I mean, I'm a fan of Shaheed, and I have been.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, coming off the injury, he's healthy. It's worth noting. He was participating in warm-ups before the game. He just sat out. They didn't play him. So that's good to see that he should be available for week 1 of the season. But it's worth noting, Tyler Shuck's touchdown, what did it look like, Coach? It was a deep bomb that he threw. What does Shaheed do? He does exactly that. He's a burner.
Yeah.
And I know we're talking about he can do more than just that, but it's at least interesting to see and nice to see. Hey, Tyler Shuck's not afraid to just chuck it downfield, throw it deep. And we know Shaheed is a guy that can excel at that. So I am interested in seeing what can happen there.
I think their offensive line is pretty bad in New Orleans. That's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem for Shuck, obviously. I think they're going to be down in a lot of ball games. They're going to be chucking it around late. That also tends to help, especially in the PPR format.
Yeah, there's some rookies on this offensive line. They got Kelvin Banks out of Texas, Cesar Ruiz, the former center from Michigan. I think he's finally moving over to guard, or maybe he's moving from guard to center. I can't remember, one or the other. He was a good player. I think it's in like his 5th year. Other than that, there's a lot of unproven talent and some older vets. So I'm with you, Coach. This is a team that's going to have to kind of prove it. And I don't expect them to win a ton of games. But, again, there's fantasy value on these teams, and we have to accept that. FF Rabbit comes in here, Shaheed over Olave for him. That's a pretty big stance. Coach, are you willing to go that far?
Not quite, no. But I get it. I get it, FF Rabbit. I understand it.
Yeah. And then Zach adds again, Olave is being slept on. If he's healthy, he's very good. I agree. I think he's good. I do think that his value is it's capped, in my opinion. I don't think he's the player that we wanted him to be. Listen, I loved him coming into rookie drafts. I wanted all sorts of shares, and I ended up with 0. But that's
you didn't love him as much as Tyler loved him.
That's fair. That's true. And then let's talk about the tight end situation there. I mean, it's Juwan Johnson, Foster Moreau. I think it's kind of the position you're going to want to avoid. I know, Coach, it's the exact same situation you just said a few minutes ago with the Panthers. Somebody's got to start. And is it worth something? Maybe, but it's probably just a best ball DFS kind of play. Nothing you really want to.
Oddly enough, like with the Panthers, at least they got a young guy. Juwan Johnson had some pretty big games last year at times. Oddly enough, I mean, he is 28 years old. Maybe he's figuring it out late. I mean, he scored like 17, 16, 15 and 17 the last 2 weeks. I mean, there's a little. I mean, if you're streaming a tight end in the game, you don't have anybody. He's a guy like nobody else is probably going to have Juwan Johnson.
There was a reason for his high point production though last year because both Shaheed and Olave were already hurt. They had nobody else to throw the ball to other than him and Kamara. So I mean, there's a reason for that. The thing is with these offenses that you're kind of projecting to be bottom half or even low, like if you want to even go lower than that, is really most of the time you want the target one on that offense, like the number one target, which is we all know and we all agree is going to be Chris Olave. So for me, if I'm having to pick, I'm taking Olave out of these guys because like Zach said, if he is healthy, he's not only good, but he's very consistent. And so for me, I would take Olave, and then I'd probably check out other than like Kamara or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I think that kind of wraps up our Saints talk. You guys ready to move on?
Yep, let's do it.
Let's talk about the Cleveland Browns, another team that's kind of in turmoil. We don't project them to be very good. All sorts of things could happen, and we can look no further than the quarterback position. You know, I was joking with Pete earlier today about possible thumbs for these players we're talking about, and I said Joe Flacco, and he said absolutely not. So I think he is the guy that's going to be the starter. We saw the news today, guys, or I assume you saw it, Shador, day-to-day, unlikely to play on Saturday. Don't really know what to make of that. I think this is Flacco's job to lose, but I do think that there's a good opportunity that both Gabriel and Sanders get some chances to play this year.
Well, the hard part's going to be, I mean, this is just the reality of it. As soon as they lose a couple games, the whole world's going to be up in arms wanting Shador to play, and the Browns will have to make a decision, or they're never going to hear the end of it, and that's just how it is.
Yep. Tyler?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think Flacco is probably their best option currently. Obviously, he's not the future of the team, being 40 years old. But I think he gives the receiving options probably the best chance to succeed out of the gate.
Well, let's get to the position that's probably the best, true underdog story of what we're talking about right now, and that's going to be the running back position in Cleveland. I mean, we have the news with Quinshon Judkins, who's, whether he's going to play or not, who the heck knows. But what we do know is it's a great value push for guys like Jerome Ford and Dylan Sampson. I think that Jerome Ford is probably the one you would want. Is Dylan Sampson anything interesting to either one of you? Coach, you want to go first?
Now, this Quinshon Judkins things, it really, it's terrible. Like, it sucks for me too. Like, I've drafted him multiple times in Dynasty, and man, it stinks bad. Sampson, he's fast. He's a great athlete. Like, somebody's got to carry the ball. That's kind of where we're at there. So they kind of know what they have in Ford. They know what they have in Pierre Strong. There's reason to see that they might as well give him a try. There's no reason not to just let him carry the ball some and see what happens.
Yeah, last week's game, he only had 2 carries and 1 target, so not really a ton of opportunity for him. Jerome Ford, I don't think he played. He might have played. I don't remember. But Tyler, what's your thoughts on this running back room?
For me, honestly, I'm just going Jerome Ford. I get what it is in terms of, you want to see the rookie, but I think the Browns they didn't bet everything on Quinshon because they took Dylan Sampson kind of around the same time. But for me, I think Quinshon is obviously their number one, and they're betting all their chips on him. So I think they're more likely to ride Ford out until Quinshon's, suspension or whatever comes, just to see what they're going to do with him. So I would probably take Ford just because we've already seen him in the system. And like Matt said, somebody's got to carry the ball, so I'll take the guy that's already done it versus looking to see a come up from a rookie in Sampson.
Yeah. Well, before we move on to the wide receiver position, let's talk about William's question here. Over under week 9, Sanders is named the starter. Coach.
Over week 9. They're not going to start him until they absolutely have to. They'll give Dylan Gabriel a shot before they do him.
Ooh, Tyler.
Oh, that's tough. That's a really good line. I'm going to go over, but not by much. I'd say probably like 10 or 11.
I'm going to say under. I'm going to say 7. Week 7. I don't think this Browns team is going to do anything. Like Coach said, when it hits 0-2, 0-3, I think they're going to be screaming for him to play. And it's worth noting, let's stop and look at the schedule. They open the season with Cincinnati. They play at Baltimore. They play Green Bay. They play at Detroit. This team is going 0-4. Does anyone think there's a chance they could win? Maybe Green Bay at home. They put some pressure on Jordan Love, make him make some mistakes.
Their defense is good.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Their defense is good. It's just, can they score points? I don't think they can keep up with Cincinnati. I don't think they can keep up with Baltimore. Detroit, we'll see with this new offense. Then they go with Minnesota, at Pittsburgh, Miami, at New England with a week 9 bye. So that's a brutal opening schedule for them.
So essentially, he's asking, do you think Sanders will be in before the bye or not? And Matt, if you're saying he's going to be there week 7, that's against Miami. That's right after he ends the Pittsburgh game with all those kind of tough defenses there. So I could see him coming in for the Miami game, if that's the way you want to go. But I would say it's probably after the bye for me.
Well, what's going to happen here, guys? I mean, they're not keeping all 4 quarterbacks, right? Somebody's headed to the practice squad. What's going to happen there?
I mean, I don't know, to be honest. I think that Kenny Pickett might be the guy if he can be healthy. Does he stay on this roster? Does he get traded? I think he's the most likely to get traded, in my opinion. I don't see them trading for Joe Flacco. I know FF Rabbit says he thinks that someone will trade for Flacco, but I don't see that happening. I could see Kenny being a backup for someone. Maybe there's a little bit of injury bug somewhere in the league, but I think that.
Do we really think they're just going to completely bypass Dylan Gabriel, who they drafted higher, and play Sanders?
It's possible. I mean, Zach says here, what if Sanders goes on IR? I mean, that would be interesting. It would give them an opportunity to not have the pressure to play him and let him continue to develop inside, the meeting rooms, and then kind of prove it on the practice field and work into that starting lineup. Tyler, you mentioned he could come in after the bye. Very interesting. Mm-hmm. But I'm kind of with Coach. I think that Gabriel might get the nod before Sanders. But again, I think it goes back to this roster and this team and the schedule. I don't see them winning very many games to start the year, so I could absolutely see any of them play.
I mean, I say that. I don't feel great about it, right? I mean,
yeah.
But
I think it.
I could see a little bit of I don't want to say phantom. I'm not saying he's not hurt, but in the baseball world, a guy starts struggling, and they wanted him to just take a break for a minute. He hits the DL for a little while, and he comes back. Like, I could see that with Sanders. Like, let's ease him into this thing. He had a good debut, but let's not kid ourselves. They weren't heating him up much. There wasn't a lot of pressure. Zach might be right there. So it was very vanilla what he faced the other night too. So everything about the preseason, like, sometimes you just gotta wait and see. You got to do it more than once.
Well, let's move on. Let's go to the wide receiver position. I think Jerry Jeudy, the obvious wide receiver 1 there. We see reports of improved chemistry with Joe Flacco. So I guess if you're wanting to see anything positive, it would be that, coming off a Pro Bowl season where he was wide receiver 15 on the year, 145 targets and 90 receptions for just over 1,200 yards. So a big bounce back year for him. Does he repeat that? I see some slight regression for him. I think it just kind of got a little bit inflated, but I do think he's going to be the biggest benefactor in this offense. But we won't spend too much time because we're talking underdogs here. So, Coach, anything you want to say about Jerry Jeudy?
No, I just think he's overvalued in general. I'm not a big Jerry Jeudy fan.
Same. Tyler?
I actually kind of like him probably where you're going to get him. I mean, we go back to what I said earlier with the Saints. If you're going to target one of these offenses that you think is going to struggle, you want the wide receiver 1, and so that's clearly Jeudy here. So I think Flacco gives him the best chance to succeed, and I don't necessarily think he repeats a wide receiver 15 season, but I think if anybody's got the shot on the team, I think he's probably the best shot to do so.
Yeah. So Fantasy Pros is, it's consensus ADP. Jerry Jeudy's wide receiver 32. So,
and he finished 15. So
yeah,
I think it's a good value. I really do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's pretty good value. That's a good pull.
That surprised me a little bit. I didn't see that. That surprised me. Yeah.
I was expecting it to be a lot worse. Now, let's switch over to Dynasty, guys, and let's think about that for a second. What's your thoughts on Jerry Jeudy? Is he someone you'd be buying right now in Dynasty, or are you kind of just, I'm going to wait and see what happens this year, maybe make a midseason play?
I think midseason's probably the way to go.
Yeah, but there's no better time to buy low than now. Like, if you think Jerry Jeudy's going to outperform that 32, now's the time to go make an offer for him. Don't make an offer after he's had 3 or 4 good weeks.
Great point. Well, let's talk about Pete's guy here for a second.
I hope he's not in here.
We can only hope. Let's talk about Cedric Tillman. Pete's been drafting him all over the place, coming in his second year out of Tennessee. Last season, he had 49 targets with 29 catches for just 339 yards, but he had 3 touchdowns, so pretty good output there. Coach, I'll ask you, are you interested at all? He's back to practice. He had a leg injury. Nothing to be too concerned about. He's full go going forward. Are you interested at all in Cedric Tillman?
Yeah, I'm totally interested just based on value alone. Wide receiver 70, ADP. There's plenty of potential for value with Cedric Tillman late in drafts. I mean, let's just look around him, right, at his ADP. You got Leggett, Kyle Williams, DeAndre Hopkins is going 2 spots in front of Cedric Tillman. No way. There's no way. I'd much rather have Cedric Tillman than either of those guys. So, yeah.
Tyler?
I'm interested in him if it's Joe Flacco or if we see some promise from one of the rookies. I mean, I'm not drafting him, I mean, sure, it's late. You're probably not paying much. So, over those guys Coach mentioned, sure, I'll take him there. But I'm not taking him with any, any hope that he's going to turn into some star on my fantasy team.
Well, speaking of stars, let's talk about the wide receiver 3 for this team, Jamari Thrash. This is a former Mediator deep dive dynasty sleeper that Coach and I were talking about way back when, before we were on anything with a camera, just on X. Coach, is there any chance at all that he could do literally anything, whether it's DFS, best ball, dynasty, maybe redraft? There, you got to be desperate. It's got to be like a 16-team, start a ton of people kind of league. But go ahead, Coach.
Yeah, dynasty 100% stash him. Everything I've read in the whole offseason and in through camp is he's their starting slot. For what that's worth, I mean, I don't think he's going to be amazing, but there's no reason not to stash him and still have him. Maybe I still have him in a couple of leagues sitting down on my taxi. I wanted to drop him like a month ago, and then I read about him as a starting slot. I'm like, oh crap, I got to hang on to him in a little bit. So there you go.
Yeah. Williams Bouncing, we appreciate you being here, brother. Thanks for interacting with us. We always love that. But Coach, I do want to point out, Kevin Stefanski said earlier in the week, about a little bit before training camp started, Jamari Thrash is a guy that can find a way to get open versus man versus zone. He just gets it done. I mean, if he's in that slot role, I think it's at least interesting. He was a big-time yak playmaker at Louisville. So if, he gets in that role where he can be fed by, Joe Flacco, Sanders, insert quarterback name, don't care who it is, it's interesting at least. Maybe he becomes a little Wan'Dale Robinson-esque and is just fed through targets to have some sort of fantasy value.
Absolutely. I mean, that was Wan'Dale. People still, we'll get to him later, I'm sure, but yeah, I mean, there's no doubt.
Zach says he has 11 shares of Tillman out of his 51 leagues. That's impressive portfolio there, my friend. I'm very interested to know how you manage that. I mean, I think of it, I have an overwhelming amount of leagues, and I'm not even at 51.
Well, Pete has 50 shares out of 51 leagues.
Probably so.
I don't think Pete's here to defend himself. I wish he was, because we would roast him. But let's talk about the tight ends. We know David Njoku is going to be the guy there. No questions there. Yeah, I'm in. Tyler's in. Coach is in. All three of us want some shares of David Njoku. He's going to be that guy. I mean, 123 targets in 2023, 97 targets last year in only 11 games. So he's going to be good. There's not really much to say, so we'll move on. I think it's worth noting Harold Fannin has looked good in practice. I do think that it's going to be a big question of can he put his hand in the dirt and block. I know they're kind of moving him around, put him at H-back, doing some other things with him. But
it looked concerning or not. That's concerning, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
I totally agree. And Fannin
not blocking well at all.
Yeah, Fannin was one of my. It was. Fannin was one of my favorite players I scouted, just because he's so athletic and he finds a way to do so many things with the ball in his hands. It's just that question of he's undersized, and I don't think he's going to be able to, stand up some of these defensive ends on the edge or come back in and just try and knock the head off some of these defense tackles because he just gets moved around.
Yeah, that was Coach's biggest criticism of him, though, going through film, was he's not a very strong blocker, but he can catch he's athletic as hell. He is. He's just so if you're going to give somebody the receiving work, I mean, he's obviously interesting there. We all know Njoku is the tight end one there, but I think they'll probably develop Fannin to try to model his game probably after Njoku if he can learn to block that way.
Well, one of the problems that they're going to have is when you go to 12 personnel, that other tight end typically is the blocking tight end. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got the do everything guy. When you bring the other tight end in, it's typically because he can put his hand in the dirt and block people.
Yeah.
That's going to be a problem for them, I think.
Well,
when it comes to play Fannin.
Let's move on from the Browns and let's talk about a team that for whatever reason no one's talking about still. And I sent a picture to Coach. And let's talk about the Tennessee Titans. Cam Ward. All you hear, man, is that his leadership is just incredible, and I'll let you expand a little bit more on that, Coach. But I sent you the picture of him addressing the team after a practice, and it's just the iconic leader photo. That's all the vibe I get. The words I think I said to you, Coach, this photo goes hard.
Yeah, no doubt. I've talked about Cam Ward a million times on here. People are probably tired of listening to me talk about Cam Ward. But the one thing I will say is that he's the guy at quarterback that if he is not successful, it will not be because he didn't do everything the right way. He works hard. He's an incredible leader. He says all the right things about his teammates. He's going to be there at 5 a.m. Like, he's a guy that you want to be successful because of how hard he works and things. He had some great quotes today about his wide receivers and about his head coach and just stuff that every quarterback should be saying, and then no one's talking about him. Like, no one's talking about him. He had an excellent preseason performance, and still no one even mentions it. The number 1 overall pick did not have a game on the NFL Network last week. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, that's tough.
Coach, you mentioned he played well in that game. Went 5 of 8, 67 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. I think he only played 2 drives. One drive, I think they went 3 and out, maybe. I can't remember. But the drive
with it, drove him down, they ran in a touchdown.
Exactly. That's what I was about to say. The one drive they scored on, you're not wrong at all. He played fantastic. He looked really, really good. It was an 11-play, 65-yard drive. And he went right down the field. No miscues, nothing wrong. I mean, it's what you wanted to see from the rookie coming in. And we'll get to that wide receiver room in a second. Tyler, do you have anything to add about Cam Ward? Are you ready to talk some running backs?
I just want to add what Coach was saying. We all liked him coming in. Obviously, Coach being the Miami fan, we've talked about him ad nauseum at this point. But I think he's a guy you can't count out at this point. The number 1 overall pick didn't have a game on NFL Network. Let's just let that sit in. So, overall, I think he's going to be good. It hurts me to say as a Colts fan because that means it's just somebody else I'm going to have to compete with and our lovely quarterback situation. But I digress from that. So let's go talk about some wide receivers for this team. Who are you guys looking at? Obviously, we have Calvin Ridley, who is going to be their wide receiver 1. Who are you looking at outside of him? Do you see the veterans and Lockett in them, or is it going to be some rookies?
Yeah, you mentioned Calvin Ridley. That is the smash pick. Hoff even says in Calvin Ridley we trust at his current ADP. I don't
30.
care about
his ADP is 30.
I'm buying, bro. I'm buying everywhere. Dynasty, redraft, best ball. I don't care. I want shares of Calvin Ridley. I think he's going to be absolutely fantastic going forward. But Tyler, you posed the question, who's going to be the other guy? That's a tougher question. It's a lot of positive news from Tyler Lockett. I know Coach is probably going to hit on that here in a second. Alec Manor being the wide receiver 2 on this team. Interesting, big playmaker out of Stanford, kind of produced late to football, but at the same time, he's got the frame for it. 6'2", 206, absolutely destroyed Travis Hunter in his game against Colorado. So I think any one of these guys could hit. I would probably be most interested in Alec Manor just because I think he's going to be the cheapest. I wouldn't blame you if you wanted to go with Tyler Lockett just because he has that history of just being consistent. But it's worth noting the past 2 seasons have been rough, especially last year. He played 17 games, finished as wide receiver 69, only 49 receptions with 600 yards.
Yeah, and they got Van Jefferson in the room also. Right now with Van Jefferson and Lockett, those are the 2 starters along with Ridley. They're old. You can't love that. Manor, I absolutely want him in Dynasty all day long. DK, I have him stashed a lot. Zach mentions I have him stashed a lot. There's possibility there. Really good athlete. I don't love Restrepo. I do love Restrepo personally, but
For
I'm not
fantasy
sure he
purposes.
even makes.
It's a long shot.
Team.
Yeah.
It's a long shot. Yeah, he was trending forever on Sleeper, and I'm even one of those guys that have several shares, and he's probably going to get cut. So I mean, it is what it is. There's not a ton of wide receiver guys there you can count on. I mean, I definitely might be willing to take a late flyer on somebody like Lockett, just to kind of see what happens.
Well, our boy Jaquan Jackson continues to find a role in the return game. Another Dynasty deep dive for us from the past before we were on camera. It's I don't think there's
me and Pete talked about him the other day, because I actually Pete didn't even know who he was. And I was like, Jaquan Jackson, man, he's fast. He drops every pass thrown to him. He dropped one the other night. Like, he did. I really wanted him to do good, but nah, he's getting cut too.
Yeah, there's nothing there. It's just fun to talk about. But I do think it's worth noting when we're talking about these wide receivers, who's going to be the one that hits. I think the one thing that Pete, Coach, you've said it before. If Ward is going to be healthy and he plays all 17 games, he could sneak into the top 12 to 15 quarterbacks. What we know about is if you just play those games, you're more likely than not going to have fantasy production.
Mm-hmm. That's what people don't understand. Like, if you play every football game as a starting quarterback, you're going to finish in the top 16 every time. You just are. Because so many of them are going to get injured throughout the season, maybe miss 3-4 games, whatever. If you play every game, you're going to finish in the top 16. So there's that. Now, we'll talk more about this, but that offensive line in Tennessee is fantastic. I'm telling you, there is a major upgrade there. I would say the Bears and the Titans have had the biggest overhaul in the offensive line. And I think the Titans you're going to see some of that. They have done that. They didn't spend as many resources on wide receivers so that they could build the lineup around Cam Ward, which makes complete sense.
Totally agree. Well, let's move on to the running backs, guys, and let's talk about that RB room. Obviously, when we were going into this offseason, you would say it's probably going to be a split between Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears. But what we do know is that Tajay Spears is likely to miss a few weeks due to a sprained ankle. I think they're probably going to be pretty cautious with him. I would not expect him to play any more this preseason. Does he make it back for week 1? Maybe, but you got some tough matchups to open the season at Denver and then against the Rams. So I think all that means is Tony Pollard is an absolute dog. He's an underdog that we want. He's a sleeper, redraft, dynasty, best ball, DFS. He's going to be a guy you're going to want on your team. Kind of a guy that went a little bit unnoticed. I mean, had over 1,000 yards, only 260 opportunities, but finishes RB21, RB15 the year before that. Coach, what's your thoughts on Tony Pollard?
Man, consensus ADP is 28. Like, give me Tony Pollard all day long. Behind this offensive line with a rookie quarterback and a team and a brand new coach that's going to be committed to running the football to help protect Cam Ward in his rookie season, you want Tony Pollard. Like, I'm telling you, he's way higher than 28 for me. Like, I want a piece of Tony Pollard on my team, especially in, like you said, redraft and all DFS. Like, this offensive line is so much better. Spears' injury, while he's going to be back, I get it, but that just makes the room even cleaner for Tony Pollard.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, is like you said, it's making it cleaner, but who's to say that Tajay doesn't come back and then re-injure himself, or he's missing, valuable time in the preseason to kind of like warm up and get loose and all that and the other. And if he's missing that, he could come back and have a soft tissue injury or a hamstring or a groin or something. And we've seen that plague people, all throughout a year. So I'm hammering Tony Pollard, especially in the formats we've already talked about. I'm not going to, hammer a nail too hard there. Somebody asked, I think it was Zach. Yeah, he was talking about how has Khalil Mullings look. Oh, you're good. So he's obviously competing for a roster spot. He had 7 rushes for 33 yards, in the preseason game. I didn't get to watch a lot of it, but I mean, having, what is that? A little over or a little under 5 yards a carry. So, I mean, that's not a bad look there. But I think you're really just kind of hammering Pollard here, and then you're going to see who's really going to be the backup with Tajay hurt. So, honestly, this line, like Coach talked about, has been so much improved. It's a great line. I think they're going to look to run the ball a lot and kind of take the pressure off of Cam Ward. So I looked for the Titans to be kind of surprising this year as far as their offense efficiency go.
I think Mullings is interesting to me, not through fantasy relevance, but just through possible opportunity should something happens. And here's the reason why is he's a former linebacker at Michigan. The running back position is new to him. I think this is only his second or third year playing running back. He played linebacker at Michigan for 2 or 3 years, I believe. So it's a guy who I think will get an opportunity to be on the team, more likely than not through special teams. I could see him being an up back, being somewhere on the punt coverage, being on kickoff coverage. He's got some speed, but he also has that tackling nature just from his defensive background. So I could see him kind of floating around on this roster, finding a way to get on there. And then should something happen to Tony Pollard, maybe Tajay Spears is still hurt or banged up, then he suddenly becomes something of a little bit of intrigue. So I think it's kind of one of those guys of it'd be a waiver darling. Maybe he hits that Chris Rodriguez like Washington had week 14 during the playoffs of fantasy, and he scored 20-something points and won a bunch of people fantasy championships. Maybe he does that. I don't know. But it's at least interesting.
Yeah, I tend to think Julius Chestnut will probably make the team before him, but I mean, they could take 4. They could carry 4. I mean, I get it.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, too, though, is we talk about it all the time. Like, these guys that aren't necessarily, like, star-studded, like, they're going to be the starter or the direct backup, they're going to try to find places to fit in on, like, special teams and stuff like that. So if you've got a former linebacker who is now a running back, I would like to think he's probably going to find a spot on a special teams unit a little bit easier than just a pure running back,
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the tight end position for just a minute. Chigakonkwo, super athletic tight end out of Maryland. He's interesting to me. I know Pete is going to highlight Gunnar Helm. He's been trying to trade him to Coach and I in a league. I did not like Gunnar Helm pre-draft. I didn't love the tape. If he somehow becomes the starter, I guess it's interesting, but I would rather have Chigakonkwo. I think he's athletic. I like the pairing with Cam Ward. He caught 1 target in the game this past week. Again, it was with Cam Ward. And if I'm not mistaken, Coach, I think this, he started every single tight end 1 snap with Cam Ward.
He did. And I forget the amount of targets, but it was solid. He's tight end 28 so far in consensus ADP. There's a lot of value there. And a lot of it goes around the fact that those other wide receivers in Tennessee aren't real good outside of Calvin Ridley. So he's going to have a lot of opportunity. And, I'm a sucker for opportunity.
Yep. Tyler, any thoughts on the tight end room there?
Well, I think the one thing you want to look at when you get outside of those top, like we'll call it 5 or 6 tight ends that everybody's going to play, you're really streaming at that point. If I'm going to do that, I'm going to do one of 2 things. I'm either going to take somebody that has a lot of opportunity that we already know of, and I'm just going to take a shot on that, or I'm going to take a shot on the athletic ability. And that's exactly what this is. And it may even be a meld of both. So like Coach said, if he's competing with targets for, with Io Manor and Tyler Lockett and all those guys, I would take that over one of the Saints tight ends. You know what I mean? Like that Saints tight end doesn't interest me at all, whereas Chig actually does. So just something to kind of keep in mind. It's not necessarily saying, hey, this guy's going to be a home run hitter for you, or whatever, but he could at least, kind of climb up the rankings as being as athletic as he is.
Like, I do think that Gunnar Helm will carve out a role, but it'll be I put my hand in the dirt and block people role as tight end too. I don't know that I really want him. I mean, I understand a dynasty stash, but that'd be about it.
Okay. Well, let's talk about Pete's question here real quick. And Mike Clay said Jamar Chase finishing outside the top 20 this season would not shock him. That would shock me, other than if there wasn't some sort of crazy injury. Coach, what's your thoughts there?
Yeah, that shocked the crap out of me. I mean, really.
I'm calling clickbait on that one.
Probably.
Yeah.
I think that's more likely than not the the case. But let's move on, guys. Let's talk about our next team, and let's get with the New York Giants. We've got Russ starting at quarterback. There's a little bit of controversy to start. I mean, obviously Jackson Dart is kind of the name we're going to talk about here in the Dynasty realm. Coach, you were a guy that drafted him several times. Are you still interested in Dynasty after he had a solid performance, 12 of 19, 154 yards and a touchdown, added some yards on the ground there. Not a bad game from him. You look to see him continue to grow in the stable offense.
Yeah, he played really well the other night. Like, I know we said we don't want to get super excited about preseason games, and I understand that. But now he was getting a lot of different looks back there compared to what some of the other quarterbacks were getting in preseason. I mean, they were rolling coverage. They were doing some things to make his life difficult the other night against the Bills, and I thought he did a really good job handling it. He checks to the fade ball, throws the deep ball, and takes a shot doing it on just a right guard just got whipped up front, and he wore one and delivered that ball in the end zone. Like, that's going to be tough, man, because if they start off rocky at all, Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston are going to be watching Jackson Dart play. He'll play before Shedeur Sanders plays.
I believe that 100%. I agree.
All right, some strong stance there. Well, then let's move on and let's talk about the
now. Hang on, I do think there's how do you feel about Russell Wilson in redraft?
I mean, it's interesting simply because of Malik Neighbors. Is that okay to say? Like, I think Malik Neighbors floats that opportunity for Russ. I'm not sure he's going to necessarily do anything to really command volume. I mean, if we look back at his games last year, he had only 2 games over 20 points. So you're kind of rolling the dice, hoping for something. Now, I will say the volume or the people that he's going to be throwing to in New York, i.e. Malik Neighbors, is better than anyone he had in Pittsburgh. So that's worth noting. Yeah. But the question is, outside of Malik Neighbors, who can produce on this offense? The running back room, there's some question marks there. The wide receiver room, there's going to be Coach's favorite player of all time, I'm pretty sure, in Wan'Dale Robinson. I'm not sure we can go a day without talking about him. And he could be worth a first-round pick. I don't know. We'll have to see. But, Coach, I'll throw the question right back at you. Do you think that Russ Wilson has some opportunity?
He's interesting. They really, really like him. I just don't understand. There's a lot of things about the quarterback room in New York I don't understand. They have probably the world's greatest backup quarterback in Jameis Winston, just to be honest. I mean, he's phenomenal. I'm serious. He's a great team guy, great culture guy,
leader,
and he can throw the ball around. I just don't understand why you don't move one of those two guys. If you know what I mean, like why not? If you're going to play Jackson Dart, then give Winston. Winston can start for 5 to 7 teams in the league right now.
Yeah, Tyler, any thoughts on the quarterbacks?
I mean, we've already seen Jameis Winston throw the ball whether he can see or not. I mean, so I mean, he's gonna let it air out if he gets the chance. I do think Jackson Dart starts before Shedeur Sanders. We already said that, but I'm not necessarily interested in Russ unless I just absolutely had to have a second quarterback. I mean, to me, I'm not necessarily worried about the Neighbors injury. I don't know if either of you guys are. We can get into that in a second, but outside of Neighbors, there's not a whole lot on this team, I feel like, overall, unless you guys can persuade me differently here in the next few minutes. But I'm more just like Neighbors and out at this point, unless Jackson Dart gets involved. And then that's when I'll start to kind of buy into him as like a QB2 that could kind of burst on the scene. I don't necessarily think he's going to do that this year because who knows when he'll actually start or actually start starting. But I think next year, I think Jackson Dart will climb up draft boards pretty quickly.
Yeah, the benefit for them is that they've built this defense. That defensive line is filthy. They've got some players in the trenches. I know if Ernie was in here, he would ask the question, is this the worst offensive line we've ever seen to start a preseason game? He posed that to our group. Neil should be back, which will, help that team a little bit more. I just think that it's kind of like they're a year away. Like Jackson Dart is a year away. I'm not really interested in any of the Giants quarterbacks, but I do like Jackson Dart dynasty wise. It's a player attached to Malik Neighbors, which I want, and I could see them investing capital, a first or a second round pick next year on a wide receiver or on a tight end or on a running back. But let's just get straight to the running backs.
Hang on.
Yeah.
Are we? Do you want to talk about receivers at all right here? Like, I am dying to talk about Wan'Dale Robinson. I can't wait.
Okay,
we knew that.
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, we all agree that Malik Neighbors is the wide receiver one. I don't think we need to talk about him in the underdog segment at all. But let's just go straight to Wan'Dale. He's the wide receiver 2 coach. The floor is yours.
So I'm gonna give you some games from Wan'Dale last year: 12, 10, 13, 18, 16, 10, 8, 8, 11, 10, 13, 18, 14. I mean, Wan'Dale Robinson got destroyed with targets because you know who likes Wan'Dale Robinson? Brian Daboll. Like, they find a way to get him the ball. I'm not even saying he's amazing, but the dude gets peppered with targets, and I don't think that's going to change. And Malik Neighbors was playing when he was getting all these targets. Like, that's what people don't understand. Like, Wan'Dale, wide receiver 72. Now, I'm not sitting here saying he's an amazing, but he's a little better than that, right? I just told you is a lot higher than wide receiver 72 in ADP.
He finished as the wide receiver 36, though. I mean, ADP wise, you're probably looking at it right, but I mean,
I'm not saying you're going to start him, but I'm saying if you're hunting some depth and one day you may have a bye week and you got to put somebody in a flex, Wan'Dale's a possibility.
You could do worse.
That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
If you get the game where he has 11 targets and he catches 10 of those balls, you're getting 14 points. If you're getting the game where he has 11 targets and he catches 4 of them, you're getting 7 points. So, I mean, you're truly just trying to feed off of those catches. And it's worth noting, Coach, that 14 target game, 11 catches, 18 points. That's someone that you probably threw in your flex because someone got hurt that week. And if you made that play, that's fantastic. I mean, you're not wrong, Coach. There's value there. And it only gets better if he finds a way to develop with one of these quarterbacks.
Yeah, is the quarterback room better than it was last year?
Yes. Oh, I think so.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
I think it's better no matter who plays, which is impressive.
Like, would you be shocked
100%
if Wan'Dale finishes as wide receiver 29?
Yes.
No, I wouldn't be shocked.
I would be.
Coach, would you be shocked?
No. I mean, it's basically would just be a repeat of last year, and he caught a couple extra touchdowns total, right?
Yeah, only 3 touchdowns. Worth noting, only 3.
Right. He catches 5 touchdowns. He's up.
He's shooting up. Yeah. Coach, did you mention his ADP? I can't remember if you said it or not.
Yeah,
72.
72. Oh my God. Yeah. Give me that all day.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about
Quentin Johnston is ADP is 59. Like, come on. Who would you rather have, Wan'Dale or Quentin Johnston?
Give me Wan'Dale. I'll give you the win, Coach. Give me Wan'Dale.
Adam Thielen is 60. ADP is 60.
Well, we've got 14 watching right now, so we appreciate everyone being here, everyone commenting. So if you can, be sure to like the stream. It helps us out a bunch. If you haven't subscribed already to Face Off Sports Network, go ahead and do that. I'm about to drop the link to our Patreon in there. Pete, I see you're in here. Hoff's in here. If you guys want to throw the Discord in here, that would be awesome for us. You can go in there, join our Discord. We have a free tier where you can get access to chat with us, be in our community, talk about fantasy football. It's a great time in there. And then our Patreon has access to all sorts of rankings, including Pete's defensive rankings, Hoff's kicker rankings, redraft ranking, the 3 of our dynasty rankings, all sorts of other stuff in there. They're absolutely going to want to check it out. But let's just continue to move on and let's talk about this wide receiver room, guys. And let's get gross here for a second. The wide receiver 3 in New York, who would you rather have, Darius Slayton or Jalen Hyatt? Hyatt's been injured, but he put on some weight, so it looks like he could be, trying to bolster up to be a little bit healthier. Kind of a burner out of Tennessee, has done pretty much absolutely nothing so far in his career. Do you guys have interest in either one of these players?
No, not really. Honestly, not a ton.
If I'm picking one, I'm picking Darius Slayton. I've just seen him do it. And the thing about it is if you go back and you look at his snap percentages last year, I mean, the lowest he got was 58, which is obviously not a great thing, but he only dipped down below 80% 4 times all of last year. So he's obviously on the field. I mean, if you're looking for a wide receiver 3 on a team, you just want somebody that's available at that point. So I would probably just take him there.
Coach, were you going to say something?
No, I'm good.
Okay. It's worth noting about Darius Slayton, best ball guy right there, because he will have one week where he will score 20 points. Yep. He does it every 100%. Year. He's going to have 5 catches for 180 yards and like a touchdown or 2. So it is worth checking out there. Hoff just threw the link to our Discord in the chat, so be sure to go there, join our Discord, be able to interact with us, and get access to the Patreon rankings, all sorts of content. Coach, let's talk about the position that no one cares about because someone's got to play. Theo Johnson, Daniel Bellinger, Greg Dulcich. This might be the worst tight end room in the entire league, but someone's going to score points. Who's it going to be? You're still muted, Coach, but your point is taken. It's no one.
No. I think it's Thomas Fedon. Is that how you say that? Like, I feel like it's not right, but I like that guy. In Dynasty, I want that dude on my team. I'm going to stash him down there. He caught a nice touchdown the other night. I think he's a sleeper.
6'6", 255, tight end out of Nebraska. The dude looks like a tight end. So it's definitely an interesting spot because, again, like I said, no one's really done anything. Daniel Bellinger's been there for a few years, hasn't really produced towards anything. Theo Johnson, another guy who's athletic. They drafted him pretty high, if I'm not mistaken, in the second round 2 years ago. Can he develop into something? Maybe. And then Greg Dulcich, the guy who just kind of fell off. And a lot of that is due to injuries, but, it was really, really bright, and he burned so bright there in Denver with the Pete's Broncos, but just kind of amounted to nothing. Tyler, do you have any thoughts about this tight end room, or are you just kind of meh?
I'm more of a meh for me. I mean, you just said it. This could be one of the worst tight end rooms in the league. And so for me, I'll let it shake out first. I don't think even if somebody comes out and establishes themselves as the tight end 1, that their value is going to shoot up very high. So it's something where, like, if I really wanted these guys later, I could easily go and trade a third for one of these guys, even after they produce. So I'll just wait, and I'll let them kind of shake it out themselves and just take all the guesswork out of it for me.
Yeah. Well, we are at almost the hour and 15-minute mark, so we appreciate everyone who's been in here. Again, be sure to like the stream. It helps us out a ton. Coach, I'm going to kick it to you. Do you have any last-minute sleeper for Dynasty Redraft that you want to throw out there before we close out the night?
I do like DeAndre Swift. We talked about Pollard and those guys. Swift's right down there in that same ADP area. Again, there's no competition really in Chicago. Manon guy's a guy with taxi, but Swift and that revamped offensive line, I mean, he's a guy, I like his ADP.
Tyler, I think you've got a few guys on the Raiders that you've been thinking about as some sleepers and underdogs here. Tell us about those guys. What do you think?
Yeah, honestly, for me, I think any of the Raiders receivers that you could get, I think those are all going to be a pretty good value at some point. You've got Jacoby, who people overlook every year. Having the upgrade in Geno, I think he'll be a good target this year. I don't know his ADP, but I can't imagine it's very high at all. He might even be down in the Wandale range. So that's another guy I would take a shot on. If I'm taking a shot on one of the rookies, I know a lot of people like Jack Bash. I'm not knocking him at all. I just personally like Dante Thornton more. So I think he's the burner. I think he's the deep threat of the guys. So I would probably pick him. And we talked about it a little bit pre-show. Coach gave a taxi squad guy. I brought him up way back whenever we were talking about rookies and doing rookie drafts. My taxi squad guy to keep an eye out for would be Torrey Horton from the Seahawks. You've got JSN as the wide receiver 1 there. You've got Cooper Kupp there as well, but we don't know, really what Cooper Kupp has left in the tank. And then after that, there's nobody. You've got Jake Bobo, I think, and I would take Torrey Horton over him all day. So that's somebody I would be stashing on my taxi squad just to kind of keep an eye out. He looked great in his first preseason game, but for this year, especially if you're taking a redraft shot on some depth pieces, I would look at the Raiders wide receiver room.
Yeah.
I have one more Raider question here. Me and Matt sort of discussed this earlier, so I want to hear what you guys think. At the end of the season, where will Ashton Jeanty finish? Running back what?
I mean, because we talked about it earlier, I'll be quick. I think somewhere around 10, Coach, is probably where I would put him. But go ahead, Tyler.
Yeah, I was trying to just kind of go through everybody that's drafted around him. I mean, you've obviously got Bijan and Jahmyr Gibbs and Bucky. I think all those guys finish above him. You've got the vets and Derrick Henry and Saquon, and depending on what Christian McCaffrey's health is, that could finish above him. I would say probably
A-Chain,
Yep. So both of those guys I'm seeing above him. Kyron, I could easily see.
Taylor.
I would say
Walker.
Maybe. I don't know.
He's going to play 17 games.
I was going to say that's if he plays. No, for me, I would say probably, Matt said 10. I'll probably go about 12. And that's not a shot at Jeanty. I just think there's more guys that are being drafted around him that I think will probably produce a little bit more than him in his rookie year. Also, just I think their offenses might be a little bit better than the Raiders might be this year. So for me, I'm taking him in the 12th range. I think he'll still be an RB1 just because he's the only running back there. As long as he stays healthy, the best ability is availability. So I'll take him at about 12, I think.
Yeah. I may not have this exactly right, but I think Bijan was running back 10 and Gibbs was running back 12, somewhere in there, their rookie year.
Yep.
He's being drafted. His ADP is 6. I think that's a little high. Now, granted, the Raiders' running back room around him's a disaster. I do like Mostert. Mostert will play a little bit. He's fast. I know he's old, but, man, he can run. He makes
He's
plays.
got 3 good games.
Yeah.
So
it's true. I get it.
I looked it up, Coach. Bijan was running back 9 his rookie year. Gibbs was 10. So that's where you're kind of looking at.
I mean, Jeanty 10, 12, somewhere in there.
Somewhere in that range.
Some people I see have some unrealistic expectations for him. I think.
Chris
taking shots.
Chris, yeah, we're taking shots at you right now, Chris. It's possible he's a complete bust. I'm kidding, probably not, but
I don't think that. But
I'll close out here with some other underdogs. And, I love my Commanders. And if something happens with Terry McLaurin, this isn't where you guys thought I was going, but we'll get there.
I thought you were going there right away.
If Terry McLaurin, we don't get a contract, there's some sort of trade. This is gross. Michael Gallup will be interesting. 7 targets this past week, running with the ones. He had a bunch of opportunities. They were feeding him. I mean, if you look at the wide receiver room there, Coach, it's Michael Gallup, Chris Moore, DJ Moore, KJ Osborne, Jalen Lane. There is no one. If Gallup is the wide receiver 3 and somehow Terry McLaurin does not end up being on this team, he will ascend. So I think Gallup is a guy to watch just if something were to happen. And I'm hoping to God it doesn't, because that means turmoil is on the way.
That would be turmoil if you're counting on Michael Gallup. I mean, that would be turmoil.
And then I think, of course, the next name is Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt. I think he's continuing to ascend, looks great in camp. Coach is rolling his eyes. And I do not care. The kid is good. The kid's going to play. There's a video out there you can listen to all I have to say about him, so I won't say anything else.
No, I think he's good. I'm just kidding. I just like to mess with you.
But you each gave a taxi guy that you want to shout out, and I pulled some tape from us, and I was playing it before we started the stream. The next taxi guy that I would say is Isaac Tesla. The Detroit Lions paid 3 third-round picks to go and get this guy. Mm-hmm. He looked great in the preseason. He looked great at the Senior Bowl. He had a fantastic combine, super, super athletic, graded as one of the most athletic wide receivers in the entire combine process. he's a guy that I want on my roster in Dynasty. I think it's the perfect time to go and try and add him right now. He looks a ton like Puka. Coach, you said it in our clip from way back in March and April. He plays like Puka.
Yeah. Yeah, he really does. Like his measurables were insane, like off the charts, in game and combine. Like the dude's a supreme athlete. When they pay the price that they paid to go get him, they like him a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And he's played that way so far in camp and the preseason.
Yeah, he made all sorts of plays in the preseason. But we are at the hour and 20-minute mark. Coach has one more thing. So go ahead, Coach.
I got one more underdog. That I completely overlooked earlier. Jalen Warren. Like, you better pay attention to Jalen. He is clearly the one. I know everybody's in love with Caleb Johnson, but his ADP is 31. He did not play in a preseason game because he's their starting running back. I'm telling you. Like, he's the guy you better have your eye on. I mean, 31, he's going to be better than that. I know everybody's in love with the rookie, but Jalen Warren is their starting running back. There's a lot of value there. Underdogs are value. There's value there.
It's worth noting Caleb Johnson didn't really look that good either. Some of his flaws that you saw at Iowa showed up on tape. So
he dropped a pass that hit him in the hands. I mean, it was like, and you know good and well that Aaron Rodgers is not going to tolerate that. He will.
Great point.
That's a great point. He'll blacklist him so quick.
Yeah. So, but I think that is going to do it for us. We appreciate everyone who's in here. We are live every single Wednesday, so be sure to follow and subscribe to the Face Off Sports Network, where you can catch all sorts of content. We've got tons of videos out there. The Discord is linked. The Patreon is linked. We appreciate each and every one of you, and we will catch you in the next one.